1-1, and should they pull it off, gods, it makes Group A super interesting down the stretch. Both teams would be tied with 11 points. Here we go. Tower falls. Where's the hold from Secret? No buybacks on 2. It might not even be a hold. They may just GG out in the middle of this push, honestly. They take 1 melee Rex. They look for Puppey as well. The Blake forward from Sylar. He's found him deep behind the tier 4s. Shredded. Just never felt the impact of the Enchantress this game. And now a leap in again, forcing Arteezy even further back. They are really committing for this one. LGD, normally they play it safe and just take objectives, but they want some kills along the way. These guys want to celebrate the win that they see in their future. Sylar barreling towards this tower, slicing and dicing, and they may make their move in just a moment. A stun forthcoming. Nope, maybe does get hexed here. Maybe they can turn this one, but he's ever so tanky. He's still got the BKB available. If he really needs to use it, he can, and he'll pop it now. And he runs back in with Sylar trying to isolate Kuroki on the backside, shreds his armor. Doesn't even have the Monovoid pop just yet. He's waiting to use an Arteezy, it seems. Might be able to kill him at the well. S4 also fairly low. They force back the Visage again, and now it's only 3 to hold. Call down already used. Queen of Pain hold up. LGD showing discipline here in the clutch. They'll take 2 full lanes of Rex, and I don't even know if they back. Here's Puppey to reemerge, but the Fissure's going to catch 2. The Lesh stun the other. Everybody disabled on Secret. Sylar just chopping Bambi to bits here. He's still got the Aegis. He didn't get off the Monovoid. He may get a double kill on the way out as Arteezy throws his own life away. Everything for the base. It's not going to matter. LGD make it 1-1, and they take this game 2 in one of the most one-sided games of the tournament, frankly.
Yeah, very convincing, but you could all from start to finish, just great play coming out of LGD. They dominated the mid lane, and the solo kill from may be a big part of that, but it feels like, to me at least, even without it, things just with their draft were really hard to deal with. They had no answer for the anti-mage. There was no real way Secret could have laned it to pressure the anti-mage. And at the same time, you had a Leshrac in mid lane who was going to win his lane just by the nature of the Earthshaker rotations and the Witch Doctor camping mid to protect him. There was no room for Enchantress to get any early ganks off. No real obvious lane for Puppey to kill, so it forced Secret to play this very farm-intensive, greedy style.
You know, the worst part is we don't get a game 3. I want to see how this story ends.
If they finish tied at the top of the group, that's when the tiebreaker happens, LD.
I want to see how this story
Hopefully we'll be back
ends.
for that.
Well, we may have to wait until the main event, but my God, if these teams play each other this well going into the main event, we could be in for a real treat. They won't face each other in the first round, but who knows? Maybe this is a preview of a potential semifinal in Key Arena. Well, with that said, gods, a close game 1 that Secret pulled away with through great execution. A not-so-close game 2 that LGD crushed through. But the end result, each team gets a point. Both teams will emerge 11 points and still on top of Group A. But it also means the rest of the pack is still within striking distance if they have a really good run down the stretch. Complexity comes to mind as a team to keep an eye on. With that, back to the panel to see what they have to say.
Thank you very much. And as that game showcased, I think now we can finally all agree that Lesh is a pretty decent hero. He's all right.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a discussion here on the panel as to whether Leshrac is a good hero, but we all think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
okay. So
yeah, so let's talk more about the other parts of the game, or just overall. I mean, LGD, like they said, dominated in game 2.
yeah, maybe was playing out of this world in that game. The solo kill he got on S4, it's basically, I was talking to Winter about it during the game, how when you play the Quap versus Lesh matchup, you might want to not even skill Shadow Strike, because the problem is the trade you always get is the animation of casting Shadow Strike is pretty long, so Leshrac can answer in turn with a stun, and the actual exchange of health and mana favors the Leshrac every time. And the way the way S4 got first blood, it was on his own cliff, he tried to cast a Shadow Strike, maybe immediately identified he had a shot at it, he went for a stun, 2 right clicks, and got a Lightning Storm off to finish the kill. So that lane after that point was really, really difficult. And we never really saw Puppey trying to change the balance in that mid lane.
Yeah,
the Enchantress was just non-existent for me.
I thought he was going to gank him a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you can't
that was
leave
why
it.
they picked it, right?
Yeah. I was like, okay, well, if they want to go for a greedy jungler, they could have picked something else, like Enigma, let's say. But if you can't just have Quap versus Lush one-on-one. That is, it's just a terrible, terrible matchup for Queen of Pain.
Yeah, we'll talk more as we take a look at a highlight, and it's a highlight because it was the only time Lesh died. Other than that, Lesh was killing the whole other time.
Secret are sitting back in decent position to reveal it, and
But
maybe
yeah, I mean,
Puppey to
of course, the mid matchup, I mean, most of it,
yeah,
maybe just going absolutely out of his mind does help the game for LGD. But overall, I mean, LGD just seems to play a lot more confidently as a team. Off the back of maybe.
Yeah, this is just exceptional play from Secret. Like, with how much they have stacked against them, they show signs of life here, which I honestly thought this game could have potentially ended without Secret getting a kill, because LGD were taking complete control of the map. The Leshrac was 9-0. He had all their 9 kills at like minute 12. So he had I think it was 15 minutes. He had Bloodstone, Arcane Boots, 1,200 gold, Bottle, Wand, and a TP Scroll. It's like twice the net worth you usually have or something, or maybe 1.5 times, right? He was ridiculously overfarmed. And I think it should also be mentioned how well Yao and Maybe played together in this game. I think the synergy between the Earthshaker and the Leshrac really showed. And what Secret should maybe draw from this is that in both games, LGD pick Shaker, they put it on Yao in the offlane, and both games he has a really high impact. I think it might be his absolute key go-to hero when he doesn't get the Tusk.
Yeah, so as we take a look at the ending moments of Game 2, Winter, let's talk about that. Yeah, on that Earthshaker, I mean, they're not afraid to pick it early. Of course, it is a little bit flexible. Do you think it's worth banning for other teams in even that first phase if they can set up a different trade?
I think it is, because if you look back at the games EG played yesterday, there were a few games that I think it was against Hot 6, they banned Earthshaker in the first phase. I think Earthshaker is a hero that can disrupt a lot of the early game. And if you look at Secret, the games that they lost, they had trouble in the early game. So if you are looking to beat Secret and looking for like signs of weakness in their play, it's got to be in the early game. If you can somehow nullify their early game and gain an advantage from the early game, which what Sin said, the Earthshaker plus Lash combination was so devastating in the game. So I feel that you should look towards getting a strong early game going for yourself to be able to stand a chance to be beating Secret. And the other big reason I felt that point shine was because S4 got solo kill. Otherwise, I think the game would have been a lot different because the co-op would be much of a bigger factor in the game, and the supports probably wouldn't have been forced to building so many, maybe only one on the Enchantress instead of 2 on both, because they felt that they needed to do more since the offlane is a Clockwork, and Clockwork generally falls off very hard. He becomes a support later into the game if he doesn't get too many kills.
All right. Well, as the commentators were wrapping up, I mean, do you guys agree this was a pretty good showing from both teams, and this is fairly accurate of how this is going to go if they meet again in later stages of TI5?
I'm actually curious what you guys think. So, Winter, you said that the weakness of Secret, if you're looking for a sign of weakness in their lineup, is the early game. What's the weakness of LGD?
I think LGD sometimes they in the first day they built their lineup. I think it was the game against Cloud9. They built their lineup way too heavily onto like late game. They had Ember plus Gyro, and they gave Cloud9 a lot of window of opportunities to end the game early, but Cloud9 didn't really do that. They had a good early game. Like, it's just the execution when they were pushing and finishing the game that wasn't crisp. I think that if LGD does that against Secret wouldn't allow the game to extend to a point where your lineup is actually going to shine. They will just finish you off at a specific timing, and you won't have a window to showcase your late game. So I feel that is one of the things that we saw from LGD. Sometimes they could overthink that we need stronger late game, and they forget that our lanes and early game are actually as important as that, and they just give away a timing window towards the enemy to finish the game early.
All right, Ben, what are your thoughts about LGD?
Yeah, it seems like they think that they're very confident in their late game, and they develop pretty strong lanes. But that mid window, which Secret took advantage of in game number 1, is just like, oh wow, we didn't expect you to push that early. And if you can execute it well, you can just cut off their head right there. And they had a lot of ways. They have kinetic field, fissure. They could have delayed the push, but it just seems like if you catch them right off guard at that particular moment, you can just win. And
all right.
we didn't see the LGD IG game, but IG actually took a game.
That's true.
Versus LGD.
That is true.
I'm not exactly sure how that game went down, though.
Yeah, that's true. So LGD, of course, they have that one tie with IG. And again, tying with Secret, so both of them moving on, tied for 11 points in first place. But a lot of people saying, all right, well, LGD, their day 1s and day 2s weren't exactly the hardest. We'll have to see when they play Secret. Now they're tied. I think most people have to be convinced by now. Okay, there's a reason why a lot of people were rating LGD so high, maybe even top 3, top 2 of TI5. And that's good news because we get to watch LGD again in our second match coming up here on the mainstream. However, they are going to have to play against Navi, who is still in their previous match against Fnatic. So right now, after taking a look at the standings real quick, we will jump into that game, see how Navi's doing, and then we'll get a better picture of how that matchup happens in match 2 here on the mainstream. But yeah, as you can see now, with a 3-2-0 record for both LGD and Secret in Group A, still leading strong. So the next matches continue to matter quite a bit for both of those two teams in securing that first seed for Group A. And the rest of the lineups, of course, we will find out in the later half of the day, especially for Group B, if anything kind of changes for the middle of the pack there with VP, Vici, and even Empire. Can they climb back up? They are having some trouble so far in TI5. So for now, let's jump into the Na'Vi versus Fnatic game, see how they're doing, see how they end up in Game 2. They had a dominating performance in Game 1, and then we'll get to find out how they do against LGD afterwards.
I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
Because, again, the Naga Siren's going to be sending illusions to other lanes, sure. It happens, you know. That's just how the hero actually functions. But, by the way, welcome in to everyone tuning in. We're now on the mainstream here.
And
I guess we must be the last game running, right? At
it
least
must
in the
be.
first series.
And this game could be running for quite a bit more if Na'Vi are able to get it their way. If you're just joining, this is a game in which Seneko is on his Naga and has managed to find a hell of a lot of farm. He said, Havorst, I'm going to carry today. He's got a Radiance Manta style complete now as well on top of the Octarine 45 minutes in. We've seen Fnatic have a couple of really nice team fights in which they've been able to get themselves into the base now, but KYXway getting
Glimmer.
X'd up in the Glimmer indeed from Fnatic. Able to get himself back out. So they're slowly chipping away at the base. It's just the ranged racks. But still, look at the other lanes. I mean, they're going to have to send someone down to deal with this creep wave here. And Seneko on the back of this. He's really holding Na'Vi in on this game with the amount of pressure he's applying to the lanes. And it's a lot of this, it just feels a lot of pressure is on Seneko at this point.
It's kind of all on him, actually. If he gets picked off one more time, he still has, what? Right now, he's not able to buy back for 3 minutes. He'll have enough money when the buyback cooldown is back up, but for a while, Na'Vi, they need to continually push out lanes. That is their only game plan. When they went mid trying to fight because they knew Roshan was going to spawn, they had the right mentality about wanting to fight over Roshan. That part was fine, but they just didn't respect Fnatic's 5 versus 5 potential enough. I mean, if we're speaking bluntly, Fnatic's 5-man is insane. Like, they're actually so good in 5 versus 5 engagements, especially considering the amount of mobility that their cores have. And we said, even at the start, Na'Vi, they lack disable. They're not able to really